Alright, now we're going to look at making a product from a scan. Okay, so first off, I'll find a scan here that I got on my computer. And I'm going to open this with Adobe Illustrator. You can also use a product called Inkscape if you're into the freeware stuff. Doesn't have to be any like Creative Cloud or any of that. Just an Illustrator will work. And we have this. Okay, so this is a light switch cover. And oftentimes if I want to like make a product that goes onto another product or reinvent that product, I can scan it and then use that as a template, because scanning is a perfect orthographic representation of the object. In other words, it's one for the object. There's no size difference with a scan. Now if I went to take a picture straight down at an object, there would be a size representation because you would have a lens, and the lens would distort the object's real size. But with a scan, it's orthographic, one for one. So that means I could take and make a light switch cover that makes sense to me. Let's say I had something that mounted on the side of a light switch cover that allowed me to mount a little plaque or something like that to label the switch. That's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be making a light switch cover. So I have this scan, and I'll be sharing this with you, and then we're going to create our own light switch covers. Here's how it works. And that scan is going to be shared as just a regular old scan, and it's going to be just below the video if you need it for the people on the internet. Now this is kind of hard to see. If you really look at it, it's a pretty tough sell on where that line starts. But this is the pen tool. Students love to hate this tool. What I want to do is like cut the product in half. So first off, let's view rulers. Let's drag a line out there. So we're going to say roughly that's about right there. If I zoom in on the pixels, I can kind of get an idea. Now when you scan this stuff, scanning it at a low res really does help, because then you have the pixel power. So you can almost use the pixels to divide up the object. I use the pen tool. I'm just going to click. And right where this curve starts, that's where I'm going to click. Then I'm going to click and hold. Then click. Click. Click and hold. Click. Click. Alright. Now let's kind of look at the corners. For Illustrator, especially Illustrator, oftentimes you have a hard time with like getting that pen tool to work out quite well. So here's a smooth tool, works really well, and you can kind of smooth that curve out. It doesn't leave too much to the imagination though, so you can undo that. A lot of times it's just keeping the bare amount of points out here that helps out. But sometimes you would have to use a smooth tool. That looks pretty good there. Kind of a bigger fan at the bottom one here. Notice this one doesn't have a rocker arm. This one does, because this one I didn't click and drag. Now you can convert using the anchor point converter. So if I just click and drag it, now get an anchor point that has the teeter-totter. Alright, perfect. So now what I want to do is mirror that over. And I do that by using the reflect tool. And in CC, Creative Cloud, that reflect tool is located here. Okay, so this is how the reflect tool works. First off, you should find a little dot somewhere right there. See it? You barely see it, but it's blue. It's hard to see. So what I'm going to do is hold Alt, click on that, and drag it to the center. It's going to pop up with this, and I do want to mirror this vertically. I want to preview that. Notice it grabbed the point, however. See it? So you got to be very careful about what you grab. Start out with the black arrow, click on it, reflect tool, find the blue dot. There it is. Alt, click and drag, vertical, preview. And what you want to do is hit copy. You see it's like moved the actual line over here. So hit copy. And now we got two. See? Now to see these lines better, I'll add a stroke value to them. I do that by adding a color in here. And to add a color, I just open a new swatch library. Oftentimes I'll just go to web and add any color whatsoever. Just like that. Then take this swatch right here and notice I have new swatch. So now it's in my swatch library. Not many swatches in there because I opened the scan. So I want the stroke value to be black and the fill to be nothing right now. So now you can see it a lot better. Okay, now these holes. These are really easy. I'm going to take the round ellipse tool, hold Alt and Shift, and I can make those holes. And I can measure these holes using calipers. We'll get into calipers here shortly, but for right now, I'm going to eyeball it. And I use a rectangle to take up the area where the switch goes. Perfect. Now the whole thing of designing this would be to add a plaque to it. Okay, and I would need some extra room over here. Well, I could take the white arrow and you can see this background thing. This is a scan. This is my layers. Go to Window Layers. You can make a new layer. Take the black arrow, click on it, slide it up, and then slide the layer back. You can now toggle this layer as locked, so you can't interrupt it. You can even shut it off if you wanted to. I already got what I needed off of it anyway. Let's go to the direct select tool. Go back to your area that has the lines on it. It's layer 1. And I know something's on a layer by clicking on it. See how it's blue? This one's blue, so I know it's on a blue layer. Cool. Direct select. And I want to move this over some. I hold shift here and it allows me to move it just like that. So now I got an area where I could put like a little plaque. How big an area? How big a plaque? Well, let's say there's a switch here. I could have a plaque that's 2 inches. How about we go with 2.5 inches? Yeah, right about there. So now that I know the plaque size that I want, 2.5 inches is a lot of message. Let's move it down here. Take the direct select tool, click and drag, and line it up with that one. Cool. Since this one has nicely rounded edges, I want to use it as a template for the little sign. So what I can do is take this and hold Alt, click and drag, then hold Shift and Alt to size it down. Again, I want that transform to be 2.5, so I can type that in up here. There we go. Now it's exactly 2.5. Perfect. Now the reason I had to make this would be I need to know where the screws are going to be. Okay, screws in 3D printing are roughly about 3 millimeters. Okay, 3.5 to be the opening. Now to switch over to millimeters, I just right click in the corner and go to millimeters. I can go to transform on this object and I could type in 3.5 by 3.5. And then I could duplicate this over onto the other corner, holding Alt. Now, this is going to be a piece of acrylic, so I would say mount your holes in just a little bit deeper than you think, because acrylic will crack. We'll actually cut that with a laser cutter though. So this will be a mixed product between laser and 3D. Alright, so there's my little plaque that mounts onto it. And that's my overall template. So in the next video I'll show you how to convert this over to 3D geometry and laser cut geometry.